What does a typical day look like for you on the job working with food?
Right.
You work at Delphos Meats, right?
Correct. Yeah, in Stanwood, Washington. It changes day to day, but typically, well, typically, there's nothing as typically right now with COVID.
Yeah, for sure.
Our business is busier than ever.
Hmm.
Normally, this time of year, we're slow.
Hmm.
Like, you know, maybe we're out of the cleaned up and out of the shop by 3, 4. But
How early do you start in the morning?
uh, like normal 8
Yeah.
this time of year, but right now it's been like 7 or 6,
Yeah.
and we don't clean up anymore. We got a cleanup crew
Mm-hmm.
or a guy that comes up and cleans up. So then that way we can cut as long as possible.
Right.
And we are cutting from, so say Monday morning, we start at 7. We'll start, set up, put everything, scrap barrels, hooks, luggers, trays, get everything, all our mise en place, everything set up in place, and then we'll roll out the beef and start cutting. And then we have a break at 10. It's about 20 minutes. And then we'll have another break at noon, and then we'll have a break at 3. But we're cutting beef the whole time, and we don't stop until like 5:15. It could go longer. Who knows? What else comes up?
So cutting beef, how does that work? What do you start with?
Okay, so
and just in a nutshell, what does the
every
process go?
every shop is different.
Mm-hmm.
Every shop is different. Everyone cuts different. Everyone has a different theory or just a different method. However you want to put it. No one really cuts meat the same. It's unless they've been cutting together for a really long time. Everyone breaks it just a little bit different. It's like you could have it inch different one way or an inch different another, and it kind of changes the muscle structure a little bit. But typically, the way we do it is we break everything by the half, and then it's quartered on the rail. So you would have what you would call your forequarter on the front, and then the hind quarter on the back. That forequarter that's on the front, that's where you get we'll go from the bottom, from the neck, because that's at the bottom, up to your ribeye. So you get your neck, your brisket, shank, arm roast, clawed roast. You could get your flat irons and terrace majors out of there.
Let's move this over for you a little bit.
Oh yeah, no worries. My voice carries. And then and then you'll get into your chuck, short ribs, then into your plate, and then up into your ribs. There's a couple other cuts you can get out of there, but that's typically that front side. And then what we'll do is we take it and we'll clean up the skirt and the neck and just anything that's got some age on it, and then we break it in between the 5th and the 6th rib, and then we have it, and then from there we'll end up dropping it onto the saw, and then it splits the arm and the brisket, and then from there you get your chuck, your clawed. The way we break is pretty basic. It's nothing like you would see in a retail shop.
So talk about Delphos Meats. What is it, and what's the whole vibe of what the whole team is doing there?
So what we're doing is we're doing on-farm slaughter, bringing it back to the shop, and then aging it and then processing it that way.
How long do you age it?
Beef is typically 14 days. We're like right on 14 days because we can't go any longer or any shorter because our coolers are full. And then
what happens if you go shorter?
Then the customer doesn't get a very good product, and then we're just
so aging determines the quality.
Correct, and it also depends on how fat the beef is, but that's when you get into that, it's a little bit more delicate because you can age things longer if you want to, but again, we don't have time and the space to do something like
Right.
that for people. Some people want a 3-week hang. We can do it in slower times, but right now,
Got to
we
keep stuff moving
we
through.
yeah, we don't have space. And so yeah, we go out to the farm. We have a butcher truck, which the owner of the shop runs or is on. He's
Mhm.
got it's a 3-man crew, and they go out. They go as far as the Canadian border,
Okay.
and they'll go all the way down to Carnation and farther.
Okay.
That's
big territory.
it doesn't, they'll go out to Friday Harbor. They go out to all the islands. Would be a lot.
Hmm.
And so yeah, and then so they go butcher in the field, and then bring it back. Then we'll weigh it, wash it, weigh it, put it in our chill cooler. It sits for 24 hours. In the morning, I'm usually the one that'll take it out and rotate it. It goes into one of 3 coolers that we have, depending on which one's full and rotation on. And then 2 weeks, and then we roll them out, and then we start cutting just like I was just saying, in that exact way. We have one guy who will break, like I was saying, break that front quarter, and then we have another guy who will break the hind quarter, and then we have myself and another guy, and we have another guy filling in right now because we're so busy. And then we're just trimming, just cleaning stuff up, making steaks, briskets, roasts, netting stuff, just making it simple, and then passing it over. And we got 2 ladies that wrap, do an amazing job, and we got a guy who makes hamburger. He's got to keep up with us, and he does a great job because it's like we have to keep up with the butcher truck because they can kill faster than we can process, right? And so the pace that they keep us at is crazy, right? Because they'll kill 20 beef in a day, right? They'll make 2 or 3 loads now.
How many pounds is in the average beef?
It varies from anywhere from 6, depending on the farmer and the cows and the feed, but it varies from anywhere from 600 to 1,200 pounds.
And that's finished product
finished hanging weight product.
Okay.
We get grass-fed cows that are lean as all get out, and that you honestly wish you could almost add fat to. And then you have some cows or beef that's just so fat you just see it and your hands just start to hurt, and the fat is hard, and you just wishing that and hoping that your knife is sharp enough to get through it. Sometimes, it could be a razor and it just stops, and it doesn't even. It could be older too. That doesn't help.
So you're cutting meat all day, every day.
We did 63 pigs last week on Tuesday.
That's another thing I was going to ask, because we've been talking about beef, but you do pork as well.
And lamb. And goats and alpaca.
Oh, really?
And deer and elk and bear.
Wow.
Yeah. So, alpaca is about the craziest thing, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's crazy, but it's just, and I've eaten it. It's good. It's
what would you compare it to?
Kind of like a mix between beef and lamb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Red meat, real dark. Wasn't, I forgot what cut. I think it was like a piece of the top sirloin. But yeah, no, it was really good.
Of all those, what's your fave?
Pork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of people are just kind of meh on pork.
Oh, well, because they don't understand the value of pork and what it brings to just, I don't know, I guess my opinion is different because I see it through a cook's eyes, and then I get to see it through my butcher's eyes first, because I started cooking before I even got into this meat world, and it was kind of planned a little. So I cooked all over Seattle for 10 years and 9 years, and it from small cafes to catering, big huge caterings at Nintendo, to fine dining, doing 8 to 10 courses.
So what kind of stuff were you making? What was your specialty?
Oh man, I never really could say that like I could have specialties, but I was so ADD about my cooking. Like I never cook the same thing. If I do, it's just like I just always try to improve it. So it's never. I've always had this, it's good, but I can always make it better, right? Mentality.
Yeah.
And that's just with life and everything for me. So I'm always looking at ways to improve. But I really like curing bacon.
Really? And did that start only once you had gone from being a cook to being a butcher?
Yeah. Yeah. That.
Explain how that works. What's the process of making and curing bacon?
Making and curing bacon. So for me, it's everything. I like to just be as simple as possible. I don't like to overcomplicate things. So for me, bacon is pork belly, 50-50 salt to brown sugar.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I just give a nice even coat rub on the belly. And then sometimes I'll have it in a container or I'll put it in a plastic bag and I let it and I'll rotate that bag every day, every couple days. Check the moisture levels, because what you're doing is you're pulling all the moisture out of the fat. And so or out of the a little bit out of the fat, because there's not too much, and mostly out of the protein. And so you're just sanitizing it almost. And then making it so that, beneficial bacteria can grow if you want, if you let it, because you have to age that. If not, you just, it's about 5 to 7 days rotating. You might have to resalt it once, because if you do it a little bit more, it's a little salty.
Yeah.
But then you just got to add fat and cook it with other things. But yeah, I've aged bacon for a year, let it get black mold on it.
Really?
White mold on it. Yeah. Yeah, and I just wipe it off with vinegar.
Really?
Yeah.
See, all these things that we've been trained for so many years to be scared of, when actually they're part of a natural process.
Yeah, and I learned this technique from Brandon Sheard, the Farmstead Meatsmith.
Okay.
I was early in my career, but like in between, like right when I was getting into butchery or meat cutting, I took a couple of his classes right when he first kind of started up, like 8 to 10 years ago, something like that. And it's just, I've been just loved it ever since, and just the simplicity of it. And it you can change the flavors of your bacon by just where you let it sit and just hang out. Like from your countertop to having it in your fridge.
Just because of the temperature difference, or
temperature difference, the smells of your kitchen cooking. That's why in like a lot of, like, you would see like old text or in other old butcher shops or anything like that, you always see cured meat hanging above things, right? And it's doing that not only for air and circulation, but it's also picking up the smells of your environment.
What about smoking it?
That's a choice. You could either smoke it, add flavor within your smoke woods, or you can just let it hang out after you rinse your cure off your salt sugar after about 5-7 days, and then you just kind of let it hang out on the counter.
And then how long does that go?
As long as you feel like.
Really?
Yeah.
And doesn't have to be refrigerated?
No.
Open air?
Yeah.
And so how long do you do that before you slice it typically?
You could do it that day. You could do it in 2 weeks.
Is it better the longer you wait?
Yeah. Yeah, it just depends on how developed flavor you want to go.
Yeah.
Because, I've noticed that the longer you do it, a little bit, you get more of that funk, that cheesy,
gamey kind of.
I wouldn't say gamey, but it's more of a cheesiness. It's just a different palatable umami-ish flavor, I
Yeah.
want to say, just because it's
Yeah.
like something that your tongue and your mouth isn't used to.
Yep.
But at the same time, you can't put your finger on it. Like I've done this, and I've taken this bacon to like guys' trips,
Yep.
and they get pissed off at me because I don't bring enough. You know, like I bring all this meat, I bring steaks and everything, but they just want the bacon. You can eat it, just slice it and eat it raw, like thin.
Really?
Yeah, and it just, because of the air, the circulation, the salt, the sugar, it just kind of, it's like prosciutto.
Mm.
You know, it just slice it real thin. You can kind of see it, like you can almost see through the fat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
So, how different is that than the bacon you buy in the store?
So
Because you can't do that with bacon that you buy in the store, right?
no,
that
because
stuff goes bad.
yeah, it can. The bacon in the store too is because it's all pressurized, cured. So it's like even at our shop, we use a tumbler and we have bacon cured in 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then we let it hang out for a day, and then we smoke it,
Mm-hmm.
and then like literally you have bacon in 2 days, opposed to 5 to 7.
Right.
And there's no way you could do it. You could, but you could have a lot of space to do it that way.
To store all of it as it cures.
Yeah, and there'd be no way you could charge the same price.
Yeah.
You
A
know,
lot more expensive.
no one would want to buy bacon. Well, they probably would, but they would just scoff at the price.
And what about this stuff that you buy at the store that's like uncured? Because people
That's
are worried about the
Okay.
things that go into cured bacon. That's curing it probably with different stuff than what you were talking about doing.
correct. It has a celery powder, or see, and this is, I should do more research on this, and
Mhm.
I've always needed to, but I've always just kind of stuck with my salt and sugar, just because I know
Old fashioned.
Yeah, and I know what it is. You know, don't get me wrong. I buy bacon from the store. I don't have time to cure it like I used to, you know, because everyone works a lot, but it's, you know, I like being dad. I like coming home, being present, and you know, not having to be like, hold on, like let me take 5 minutes and make this bacon, because it doesn't take very long, but it's like
It's another thing to do.
it's another thing to add to my plate.
How many kids do you have?
Just one.
Yeah.
Just one 5-year-old, and she is,
Awesome.
man, she just keeps me so busy. We were playing horses this morning, and you know, she just, Dad, play with me. Dad, play with me.
I have a 4-year-old, so I know the
Oh
game.
man,
It's-
and she just cracks me up. I forgot what she told me this morning, but she called me a knucklehead or something. You know.
So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Ellensburg, Washington.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy because I grew up in a farm town, beef town, and I didn't really want anything to do with it then. Like, I just wanted to hang out, play my sports, hang out with my friends, ride my bike. But yeah, no, I wanted nothing to do with farming. No, well, okay, so my parents actually separated. So my
Okay.
dad, I actually got the best of both worlds, I thought, as a kid, because my dad always lived over in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
And when my parents split up, my mom moved us over to Ellensburg. And so, you know, I got the city life on the weekends, and then during the week, I got to hang out, you know, in the country. And so I always thought that was awesome because, you know, I get to experience it all, and not most people don't. And it's allowed me to connect with a lot of people.
Right.
In a lot of different spaces and relate to both sides. And so, you know, it's definitely helped me out in my career and my journey and my path on this food passion that I have.
What did your mom do in Ellensburg?
My mom did. So she moved over there, and she was doing, what was it? It was rehabilitation for at-risk youth.
Okay.
When she first moved over there, and then she ended up starting her own business as what was she selling? It was like old Western antiques.
So what did your dad do in Seattle?
So, and my dad, so he worked for CLC Light as a carpenter.
Okay.
And so, my dad's always worked with his hands.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize I was going to end up working with my hands when I was younger, but I knew probably right around middle school I wanted to cook.
Really?
Yeah. But, I knew I wanted to cook, but I never
What was it that you were doing at that age where you were inspired by that?
I can remember actually my cousin making scrambled eggs with me when I was actually younger.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the memory that's always stuck with me in cooking is, that was my eggs, eggs were my first love and cooking was scrambled eggs with my cousin.
So by the time you were, say, in high school, what kind of stuff were you cooking?
Not a whole lot, to be honest.
But it still interested you.
Yeah, it just interested me. It's not like I pursued it
Mm-hmm.
or went to work in a restaurant. Like my first job, I was in 7th grade. I worked for a logger, and then I did that. And then once worked for him for a long time. And then once I turned 17, I started working at the Albertsons in town. And, I did that for, 17, 18, and then I graduated. And as soon as I graduated high school, man, I was gone. I moved right over to my dad's house like 2 days. Garbage sack over my back, and I was looking for a job in a restaurant.
Really?
As soon as I graduated, yeah.
And so what was that first gig? What did you do?
To be honest, it was in the mall at Auntie Anne's Pretzels. I don't know if I've ever really told anyone that, but only my close friends know. I wasn't there very long.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, it's cool because I did that when I was 18. And then all of a sudden, it's like I've been cooking for a while. Went to culinary school at North Seattle. And worked in a couple cafes and stuff. And then, a handful of years later, all of a sudden, pretzel buns and pretzels become huge, right? Like everyone's wanting pretzels.
And you're like, I've done this.
Yeah. It's weird, man. And I'm like, and people are trying to figure out, like, in the bakery section cooking, they're like, I can't get these as golden brown as I want. And I'm like, I can help you.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, but
What is it, about the right amount of butter or the right
no,
heat?
to be honest, it's baking soda and water.
Okay.
It just gives it a nice shine. You just kind of brush it on.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Just as you're done baking it, and then throw your salt on.
No kidding.
Yeah. If it doesn't work, don't hold me accountable. Just because you heard it on the podcast doesn't mean it always works.
That's true. Don't believe everything you hear on a podcast.
Yeah. At least try it though.
What was the coolest restaurant cooking
experience
gig
that I've ever had?
Yeah.
I want to say Purple Cafe in Bellevue is really what, and it wasn't so much the restaurant itself, but it was the environment and the other cooks and the chefs I was working with that made the experience. Like that restaurant could have been, it's in your restaurant, could be, it all depends on who's working and your team. Because I've worked in a lot of different restaurants. I was one of those guys that, like, I'd change restaurants every year. Like I've worked in, I don't know how many different restaurants.
Is that pretty typical in that business?
Yeah.
People move around?
Yeah, because it's, you're always getting paid the same, and, someone might offer you a quarter more an hour. And so you're like, a quarter more, I'll take it. I'm out. I'm learning something new.
Yeah.
And I worked 2 jobs for a while. I work morning shift somewhere, and then I go work night shift somewhere,
How many hours a day then were you putting in?
16 to 18.
Wow.
For like a year and a half.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's intense.
I had some hospital bills I had to pay.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened?
I ended up, I didn't know if it was from stress or what, but I ended up getting migraines in my stomach. They called it Neuro vomiting syndrome. And literally for a period of like 3 or 4 years, I had a really sensitive gut.
Really?
Yeah.
I would think like ulcers or acid,
I ended up
like
getting those. They ended up giving me that, like, just because I was throwing up so much. I ended up getting like 2 ulcers. Had to take medication for that.
So what were you, too much stress and you weren't eating or what?
Well, no, it could have been that, because drinking a lot of soda and coffee.
Yeah.
Because working in the restaurants, you get unlimited soda, man. I don't drink pop. I don't drink it anymore, really.
Yeah.
But it's like, I used to drink almost like a gallon a day. Like, because you get these 32-ounce cups, they call them portion cups. But, it's like all you got to do is put it up in a window and someone fills it for you.
Yeah.
Unlimited. But, yeah, so Purple Cafe in Bellevue is probably one of my funnest experiences working. I learned a ton. My chef there, his name is Harry Mills. The guy is amazing. Just a great team leader, and just knew how to challenge people just to the right amount, just perfect, and get the best out of them, and be able to promote such a great work environment. Like, if I could go work for someone again and he was doing it, I would leave my job and I would go work for him in a second. And I could tell you hundreds of people that have worked for him that would probably say the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And then another, his name's Kyle Cole. Where's he chefing now? He's doing a pizza restaurant, I think in Redmond. The guy's a wealth of knowledge and food and just passion, and just, he kind of pointed me in the right directions, showed me some different chefs, different techniques, taught me about doing the research and looking for the little details that are going to make a difference. Just the little things that are going to make your day that much better, but then are going to make your work even better and taste that much better. And he might not say it, but it's just his personality and what he just brought to the table every day. He was intense, he was fiery. And I think he's a couple years younger than me even. I'm 36. So, but yeah, no, it was an awesome team, man. And then from there, I went and worked at Google. That was an awesome experience. Yeah.
Doing food stuff?
Yeah, cooking in their kitchen.
Really?
Yeah, with a good buddy of mine. He got me the job. Wait. Sorry, I got to backtrack. I went from Purple to Altura, which is actually was nominated James Beard Best New Restaurant Pacific Northwest that first year that I was there.
Wow.
Yeah, and that chef there, that guy's amazing. His name's Nathan Lockwood. He's from this area, went down and lived in California and worked for, I believe the restaurant was Aqua. It was a 2 or 3 Michelin star restaurant. So,
wow. And
I only got to work with him for 6 months, and then we had some family issues. My wife needed me home more.
Yeah.
So I had to take a day job, and then that's when I started working for Google, working in their kitchens. That was a great experience. Ton of freedom. Yeah, just evolved it that way, and then after that, then I left and I went into retail butchery. I worked in a retail shop, and that was my first experience, and that was at Bill the Butcher in Woodinville.
So how did you make that transition from cooking to butchery? Because it was pretty different.
It is, but it's always kind of been in my plans, like going back to when I was in high school, and I knew I wanted to cook. I had a friend of mine, or my mom's friend, who one day pulled me aside, half drunk, and said, "What do you want to do when you graduate?"
Yeah, classic question.
Yeah, and so I said, "I want to cook, and then I think I want to cut meat. I want to be a butcher." And she said, "Well, cook first."
Really?
Don't go cut meat first. Cook first.
What was her background that she could give you that advice?
She was a beef sales. So at the time, she owned her own business selling beef, grass-fed beef out of New Zealand. And she had grown up a cattle rancher's daughter who ended up being head sales for IBP and marketing at one point, I think in the 80s. And then it, or in the late 80s, and then mid 90s kind of broke off and did her own thing and saw that beef was going more towards a grass-fed. And that was, mid 90s. And then I didn't get to hang out with her as much because shortly after she passed away. But, I'm doing exactly what she wanted me to do. And the kind of that plan that her and I talked when she was a little blitzed. But,
Hey, sometimes that's when the real truth comes out, right?
Yeah. She didn't hold anything back, man.
So you get into butchery, and first you started retail.
Retail.
How long did you do? And what's the difference between what you're doing now and retail? Like how much different is that?
A lot. I think it's a lot different because different customer base, different process. It's like you're going from setting up a case of meat out of a box that literally you're just like denuding or trimming fat and being able to make it presentable and putting it in a case.
Yeah, it's got to look good.
Yeah, you got to make it look good. And then from what we're doing now it's speed, being able to debone stuff, because when you're working with box stuff, you're not deboning a whole lot. Yeah, just knife skills in general are a lot different. You're having to use different positions. You're using a lot more leverage, gravity for a lot of things. Seaming, just the cuts you're working with are a lot different that you don't see in a retail space.
What's the most underrated cut of beef that people don't usually buy or think about, but is actually awesome?
Oh man,
you people who cut meat, you guys are the ones who know this stuff.
I know, and it's crazy. Okay, so we were talking this off air, right? About the difference between the city market, I want to say, and the rural market.
Yeah,
is the best way to put it.
Right.
Because you come out to my shop and like a hanger steak is, ugh, why would you ever eat that? It's gross,
What's a hanger steak like? What?
So for me, the hanger steak is a diaphragm muscle.
Okay.
It's a singular muscle that literally hangs inside the cow, and it helps breathe.
Right.
It's part of your the skirt steaks and stuff. But it's going to be one of the beefier cuts. Anything on the inside is going to have a lot, I want to say, beefier flavor. So you got your hanger, your skirt, maybe even your flank, because they're kind of more on the interior side, and there's not a whole lot in between.
Thinking of like Carne Asada.
Yeah.
Right?
So your skirt steak or it's called a bavette.
Isn't there a lot of stuff that is sold like in the regular grocery store that's called Carne Asada, but isn't true?
It's just Carne Asada. It's just a style of thin cut meat. Is like, you come get Carne Asada for us. It's like depending on how you want it. You could get it out of top round. You could get it out of chuck. You could get it out of ribeye. So it just depends on who's cutting it.
Recently, I just cooked.
Broil.
A London broil, and way better grilled than the old school way of doing it, which always tends to overcook it.
In an oven with the broiler on?
Grill over charcoal.
I've never done that.
Way better.
Never done that. I need to do that.
And I was skeptical, but read online, okay, this person says do it, so I did it. It was awesome, but it really helped me taste the different flavor of the London broil.
Yes.
That was another cut that's like, it's got way more, it's a little bit more of almost a gamey flavor to it.
And it
Beefy.
To be honest, with the London broil is actually just a style of cooking. And
True.
if I don't know, was it a top round?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because there's some places market it a little bit different. Like I said,
Yeah. That style of cooking has become synonymous with that cut. But really,
exactly. Yeah. You could do the same thing with like when I was younger, a London broil for me was a flank steak. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know why, but that's just what my mom did.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any different until I started cutting meat.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's regional. It's how you grow up, and if you're not around it, you're not exposed to it. You just don't know, and it's not your fault. It's just how it is. It's everyone treats cuts differently. A London broil, it's like when I was working in the retail shop at Bill the Butcher, rarely sold London broil. Rarely would even someone come in and ask for a London broil, because like we would take that top round or bottom round even, and we would use them for jerky or stew meat or hamburger. Yep. But like I don't know, it was really weird. We just never. But up north, we sell them all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And then it's like with going back to hanger steak, flank steak, or not the hanger, the skirt, bavette. What's another one? Culotte, which is a cap at the top sirloin. Like in the city, you got people wanting those like crazy. And then you come up north, it goes into grind. Right? Like I had a friend of mine come up and cut with us, and she worked. Her name's Alice. She works down in Mercer Island, but she's moving down to Portland. But she came up and cut with us, and her favorite cut is a flap steak or a bavette. She's cleaning it up all nice. I'd have her making it into stew meat and stuff, and she's like, "Really? No one actually wants this as a steak?" And I'm like, "It's not on our cutting card." And nope. So
really,
yeah. So we always turn it into stew meat. It's great for stew.
Yeah.
And then the one time that we got no stew meat, I looked at it. She was cleaning it up. I was like, "Here, there's no stew meat." Like, "You want to see what we do?" I just took my knife. I go whap, 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 whap. 3 pieces, cleaned off a little bit of fat, and I threw it in the lugger. She was like, "You gotta be kidding me." Nope. She's like, "You are breaking my heart right now." I almost saw a tear. Because it was
so if you throw it in the lugger, what does that mean? It goes to grind?
It goes to grind.
Hamburger.
Yeah. The hanger steak, same thing.
Yep.
Goes to grind. Skirt steak goes to grind. And she's seeing this, right? Because she markets all these cuts all the time. And people just like, she can't keep them in her case long enough.
Really?
Yeah. And then I'm throwing it into grind. And she's just like, I can just see her heart breaking,
Why are you so passionate about food?
I think, in all honesty, because my mom cooked the living out of it when I was a kid. Like, my vegetables, I will almost eat them raw, opposed to cooked.
Yeah.
Like, it's just barely blanched when I cook it.
Yeah.
And like, they say perfect in some restaurants is like you can go up to your carrot or your asparagus and you should be able to cut it with a fork. Right? It shouldn't fall, like literally it shouldn't smash, but you should be able to kind of have a little bit of force, but be able to cut it with a fork.
Yep.
That's almost too cooked for me. Like I just liked it just barely cooked because my mom she would take a can of cooked beans and boil them. And
so that drove your passion to like, there's a different way to do this.
I guess, because that's the only thing I can come up with from looking back and trying to just reflect on how I've got here, right? because I do that quite often to just kind of give myself checkpoints and see how I'm doing. And yeah, that's just a lot of what I come back to. And my wife's the same way. My wife works in food. Well, kind of now, but not really because of COVID.
What was she doing?
She was working at Daniel's Broiler in Bellevue, serving steaks.
They cut back because of COVID?
Oh, they haven't been open since.
So they just laid a bunch of people off?
Well, no, they're all, well, yeah, because they're all on unemployment.
Right.
But they actually start back up tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, my wife's actually got her first shift back on Sunday. So.
Yeah, COVID has really done a lot to the food world.
Oh
right?
my God, man! It's changed It's changed the way we do business. Like I said at the beginning, like we're slammed. We are so busy. It's like fall. It's busier than fall right now. Like it is. We are doing so much beef and pork, and people are wanting to fill their freezers more than ever before.
Is that they just want to stock up?
Yeah.
Or is it because they're home and cooking more?
That could be it too. Or they don't trust the food system. They don't trust what's going on. Like, you know, that your podcast you did with Camus. He had a lot of great things to say about our food system and what we do here in Washington. You know, like we live in one of the best food states in the world. Like it just hands down, like our climate, everything that's changing a little bit, but and the passion that our farmers and the people producing the food have is you know, I can't say it's the best because I haven't been other places, but all I know is that people that come here are just surprised and just blown away by the products that we're able to put out. You know, and it's cool because the different temperature climates that we get all over the state, from the San Juan Islands to where we're at now in Everett to up to Stanwood, up where you're at in Linden, all the way over to the desert when you go to Ellensburg and farther over to Sunnyside, Walla Walla. Like you get in, you know, it's like you got potatoes up north, you got potatoes out east, you got wine grapes up north, you got wine grapes out east, and it's just like, are you kidding me right now? You know, and then not only that, and then you got all this cider and apples and cherries, and it's just like more and more and more and more. So,
yeah, what don't we have here other than like tropical fruit? I'm trying to think of what else we don't grow in Washington State and grow amazingly well.
And you know, coffee beans. Have you done coffee beans? We grow coffee beans here.
We do?
I don't know.
No, I haven't. I haven't seen that.
See, you said what don't we grow? I said coffee beans.
Well, maybe that's
someone's gonna do it. It can be done. Like
true.
I know of someone trying to do it in Wyoming.
Really?
Yeah, or Wisconsin. One of the two.
Boy, you just opened a whole new can of worms. I'm gonna have to go Google this now.
I'll send you links.
Awesome.
I'll send you links because that's just. I'm always researching. I'm always looking to, like I said, to do something better, or someone who's doing it better. You know.
What do you think that people buying food at the store or at a restaurant or wherever need to know about where their food is coming from? And like you're
just
talking about how
questions.
lucky we are here in Washington.
Just ask questions. Don't just assume that the person serving you, handing you your food, knows what they're actually doing. Because to be honest, some people just don't they just don't educate themselves on it. Yeah, they could be serving it to you, but that's just their job. Like you as a consumer, if you care about your food, you should do the research. You shouldn't just act like you care about it, or you know, just ask, just do the research, grow it yourself. You know, it's not hard, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
Right.
You
just have to put in the time. Is all it takes.
Yeah.
Time, a little bit of research, and grow your own food. That's huge. And know a farmer. That's another one. It's not even, if you can't grow your own food, know a farmer. Everyone should know a farmer or have a farmer like they have a mechanic or a dentist or a doctor. Because in the end, that is really what's going to make you healthy. It's not going to a doctor and to have them tell you, you know, you're having issues because you're eating too much sugar. Well, I'm eating a lot of candy at night. Well, you know, it's like, and I have that issue. I probably, if I go to the doctor, they're going to tell me I eat, you know, I'm probably close to diabetes, but it's like, because I like candy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I know I do. I should not eat it as much, but at the same time, it's kind of tough sometimes when your wife makes a bunch of brownies and puts salt and powdered sugar on top of them. And then you got your 5-year-old being like, Dad, these are so good. Will you just have a brownie with me? No, I'm not trying to do that. Okay.
What about, there are a lot of trends and fads out there, and a lot of people that, there are a lot of things that people are really worried about with their food.
Yeah.
Are those things accurate generally that people worry about, or are they kind of, in my experience at least, people are not worried about maybe things that they should be, and they're all obsessed and super scared about things that aren't actually bad at all?
Correct. Yeah. No.
Has that been in your experience, knowing kind of the back end of the food system?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it just goes back to educating yourself as a consumer. You know, and this goes, when I was working at the retail shop in Woodinville, I was blown away with how much the consumers knew about the product that I was selling compared to even some of the people that I worked with. Because they didn't know. And literally, I had customers tell them more about the meat that's in that box than what they knew. And for me, it was a real eye-opener to be like, I need to know more. You know, if I'm selling this and I'm talking to someone, I don't want to just, if I'm gonna tell you the truth. It's just, that's the way I've always been. I try to be as honest, as transparent as possible. And I try to pass that on to my daughter. And so when I just tell people to educate themselves, and I'll do whatever I can to help put them in the right position to do that. I'll answer all the questions, but yeah, it's just kind of looking them up, talking to the people raising it, looking into the people that are processing it, looking at those practices, looking to where it's coming from, what's the carbon footprint. You know, there's a lot of different variables, and it depends on what you're passionate about and what you want your end goal to be, you know, with your food and your health. Because in the end, that's what it is your food is your health in general. So the healthier, you know, and you could say, yeah, I eat healthy, but at the same time, it's, you know, it's all in perspective.
Yeah.
You know, my wife says we eat really healthy, and I'm like, we could eat healthier.
Yeah.
She's going to scoff at me when she hears this. But at the same time, you know, it's like we grow a good amount of food at our house. We don't have a big plot or anything, but it's like the experience that we get, or I get, when I can watch my daughter come out to the yard, pull a carrot out, or we've been eating strawberries like crazy, like handfuls a day. And just that experience, and it's like having her like eat a white strawberry and the bitter sourness that it has compared to just like one that's like too far ripe where it's like fermented, where you're just like, ooh, that's alcohol. You know, but it looked awesome.
Yeah.
And so, but it's like being able to experience that. And I'm like, to be honest, when I was 5, I didn't get to experience that. You know? So it's, I don't know, it's just bringing those food experiences and just trying to connect with your food as best as possible. It's like, yeah, it's hard to do in the grocery store and everything, but it's convenience. I totally understand convenience. Shop on the outside of the aisles, you know, shop in the middle, and you're just going to kind of go down a road that is not the best, but it's not going to kill you, I don't think, yet. I can go off on tangents. I don't know.
do people need to be worried about their food? Like living here in Washington State, again,
Again, if you're getting stuff from our state, no, not really, because people are worried about. Yeah, people are worried about their food, and again, do your research, because the restrictions and the guidelines that we have to follow, like when we're processing animals, like the USDA is really strict, right? Like we have a lot of strict rules that we have to follow to make the meat that we're producing wholesome and safe for people to eat. And yeah, there are bad actors out there and people that try to fake the funk, but it's, again, if you care and there's a reason why these guidelines are in place, being able to find people that are transparent, wanting to show. If they hide things, I wouldn't trust them so much. If you can't see what's going on, it's tough for me to trust you.
Well, and that's my thing with food that's grown farther away, and especially in a different country.
Or truck. Yeah, totally.
How do I know?
Totally. And it's just like, and you don't know.
Things
it's like,
are enforced.
Exactly. Like you go, it goes to grocery store and box meat. It's like, especially, yeah, it's amazing what food and food programs can do for the quality of your animals. My buddy over in Ellensburg, Kyler, he's starting up his beef business. It's Pacific PNW Beef. He's got this cool feed program, and I haven't got to try his beef yet. I'm really anxious because he's talked it up to me. But his feed program is he's using I believe it's spent grains from Iron Horse Brewery.
Okay.
Over there. And he's got this, I think, okay, I might mess this up. Sorry, Kyler, but it's like chaff or something. It's like loose hay that they mix in, a specific variety, I think. And then he's got this other waste product. I believe it's from a bakery that he mixes in with it, and he's got this. It's all formulated, right? Like, and so then they mix it, and what he says is like the fat is like soft, and how the hell is he describing it? It was almost, the way he was describing is almost kind of Wagyu, because like it's just got this soft, saturated, just melts really, really quick.
Yeah.
And so for beef, it doesn't happen very often, right? Like it all depends, but sometimes you see it and it's just gross, but sometimes you see it and you're just like, wow, that's really interesting, because all fat on every beef is different, and so when you get the saturated stuff, it's easier to cut, but sometimes you're just like touching it and you're just like, wow, that's liquid already. How does that happen through gloves?
Yeah.
It's just like, how can that clog your arteries? I don't know.
Well, and it sounds like the science is evolving on that with fats too. It used to be, fats are what's clogging your arteries, and cholesterol and stuff.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, no, it's actually the cholesterol that your body produces, and it actually is a response to potentially eating too much carbs, which they told us to eat for a long time.
Yeah.
And now they're like, no, actually fat is maybe not the terrible thing that they used to tell us that it was.
And so, yeah, so it's like, I've been so busy, but I want to try this beef. And not only that, it's from my hometown, and it's a friend of mine. So it's cool. I'm meeting friends I'm getting relationships with all different types of farmers from all different backgrounds. Like, yeah, my buddy Kyler, he knows Camus. He's good friends with him, who you did on your podcast. And then it's like, I got small farm friends that have moved from like Snohomish down to Orting, and they're having, and everybody is having issues getting their animals processed. 100%. Like, whether it be their pigs, their lambs, their beef.
So what's the issue?
Everyone's busy, man.
Just not enough processors
nope.
like you guys there at Delphos to do
Nope.
it.
Not just processors, meat cutters in general,
Hmm.
doing what I'm doing, and it's not because, well, it's because it's hard work with not a lot of pay.
Yeah.
In the end, it's like, well, we work like 10 hours a day, 10 plus 12, and what was I golfing with my uncle yesterday, and I was telling him that. He's like, "Oh, I was a machine mechanic. That's not that bad. You're preaching to the choir." And I'm like, "Yeah, I get it, but you wake up and your hands are numb and you can't button your shirt in the morning, like, and then driving to work and your hands go numb again, and then when you get on the block, you're starting to cut and you can barely grab a piece of meat with your left hand because it's numb, and then you can't grip your knife because it's numb, and then you have to just shake it off
Just from using your hands so much.
all day, flipping, pulling, tearing, grabbing. It's like I feel really good because I've had time off, but it's gonna be nice to go back to work on Monday for being gone a week. So, but yeah, it's my back, my arms. Like, I feel good now, but last week, man, my body was in a bad shape. Could barely bend over.
I've never thought of that being a butcher would be that hard on your body, but it makes sense.
Man, I'm standing in one spot for like 9 hours. Like, I can feel my ass disappearing. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and then my hamstrings were just so tight.
Yeah.
I've just been trying to stretch them all week long. And I changed my shoes like maybe twice a day, once a day. I have a pair of boots and I wear my Romeos. I just go back and forth.
Yeah.
Because, I got to change my your feet are important.
Yeah.
So I learned
and that affects your back too.
Yeah,
right?
and I learned that being in the restaurant working 16 hours.
Yep.
It's different because I had different shoes on then. I'm more of in a boot now. Kitchen shoes are more comfortable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we work with hoses and water all the time, and I don't feel like being wet at work.
Yeah.
That sucks because it's cold.
Yeah. For sure.
It's like, we're out here and it's 80 degrees, but we go in the cut room and it's 40. Go in the cooler and it's 30.
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
Go in the freezer, it's negative 15. So I'm usually in a hoodie and a button up of some sort.
Well, thank you for sharing your story.
No problem.
Like all the steps that I wouldn't have expected, but as you explain all of it, it makes sense.
We just
the journey that you've been on.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's it's not going to stop, man. It's just going to keep going, getting better, evolving, meeting more farmers, doing more every day. I'm always looking for the next step, new projects. Just staying busy in this meat world.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.